see everyone. There's a good feeling of camaraderie between us all. It's a little competition, but it's a friendly competition. No, it's not.
All right, shake your partner's hand. Wait. What's that?
During the match, I can just like.
Yeah, but give your phone to me.
All right, that's it.
That's it.
Sorry.
And no crosstalk across the board. And when you're done, if you want to pick up your set and take it someplace else, talk about your match or play some games for fun. All right. You ain't. Good luck.
You too. So will you.
Hello and good afternoon. My name is Andrew Vasquez. I am a NAHS area alumnus and the class of 2016, and also a former member of the chess team and club. And welcome to the Week 5 chess match against Norristown versus Plymouth Whitmarsh, or PW, as we call them. As you can see, everyone's getting focused. Everyone is. So they have set the timer, and so they shake hands before the match because good sportsmanship. As you can see, first board is Alexis Perez for Norristown. Is showing PW's first board something about the notation. Yeah, Norristown team is on the left of your screen, and Plymouth Whitmarsh is on the right. And first board is the board closest to us, and going back for second, third, fourth, and fifth, with first board being between the two best players, and with first board being between the two best players of both teams, and continuing down the line in order of best to worst. So on first board, we have our very own Alexis Perez on the left, and PW's Jay Soon on the right. And as you can see, the game is really starting off with Perez taking the center with his pawns. That's a very common strategy, and a strategy that holds up a lot in competitions with chess players wanting to take the center, because when you take the center, you have more control over what happens in the board. You can dictate what goes on. As you can see, third board, Norristown's third board, Elaine Vasquez, is getting up and walking. That is a totally normal occurrence for chess teams. You can get up and walk around as long as you come back and really kind of win. Yeah. And as you can see, Norristown's Perez just pushed forward another pawn, trying to claim more of the center with his pawns. It's a very good strategy because pawns are the lowest in point value and are pretty indispensable. Like, so putting a pawn in danger, it's not really too much of a concern. Losing a piece on one of the pieces from the back rank, from the back row, which is closest to the player, that's where the concern is a bit higher. And as you probably have noticed, there's a couple players on both sides have snacks and some water in order to keep hydrated and keep, focused. That was Plymouth Whitmarsh's third board I'm sorry, but it was Plymouth Whitmarsh's second board. Spurka waving to us, and now Alexis Perez is staring us down. He's obviously feeling very confident about his game, that he can just stare down the camera like this. But yeah, that's Perez for you folks. He's very confident. Also, as you can see, a couple of the players, in particular Perez, they have headphones in, and that's also perfectly legal. According to the tournament, you can have headphones and listen to music. You just can't really you can't look up strategies. It's just your skill in your brain against someone else's skill and brain. However, if you focus better with music, they've decided to allow that. Which in previous years, I don't think they have. But it's a good thing. Yeah, as you can see, Perez is looking a little bit bored. He's feeling very confident in his abilities against his opponent. There we go. And soon push forward a pawn to challenge Alex's pawn formation. As you can see, soon for PW's first board has a string of pawns protecting each other. That's also a good strategy because it allows for recapturing if necessary. It kind of makes his opponent think a little bit more. Yeah. And now that's Perez's turn. Of course, he's taking time to think. And so I'd also like to explain a little bit about the clocks. So we can't really see it, but towards the bottom of your screen, for first board, there's the clock, and that's what they're hitting after they make their move. And that's how you kind of signal that it's the other person's turn. You have a limited time to make a move. You have a specific allotted time to make a move, and yeah, so each player has about, if I remember correctly, an hour on the clock. So about a 2-hour long game. Yeah, so you in theory have an hour to make a move. However, you don't want to take the whole hour. So you can't so you have time to make a move and time to think. But you don't really have much time. But you don't want to waste too much time on your turn. Otherwise, if you run out of time, you will forfeit the game because you can't continue the game while your opponent calmly planned out their every move in a swift and decisive manner. Yeah. as you can see now, yes, which is why it's also crucial for chess players to not stop thinking on their opponent's turn to strategize, because it's kind of like a cheat, or not a cheat, but like a little way to get back at your opponent. While your opponent is wasting time during their turn thinking, you can also be thinking during their turn, and thus use up less time on your turn, which makes it easier for you to win a victory based on time, which is why it's always important to be mindful of the clock. As you can see, Perez is very into his board. He's focusing on the pawn structure, the pawns clashing in the center right there, trying to decide what to do. Alright, and now we see that Perez has made his move. He decided to bring in his knight into the action there and guard his knight and guard his forward pawn some more. Also, so his knight is now more active and it can move into other various spots. Yeah, a quick overview for those who don't know. Pawns move in a straight line. Knights move in a 3 square L formation. So that's why the knight, which started next to the rook, was able to move behind Alex's rightmost forward pawn on was able to move from G1 to F3, which is a space. That's another thing, ladies and gentlemen. So each row on the board corresponds to a number from 1 to 8, starting from White's first row, with the white king starting on row 1, and then the black king starting on row 8, and then the columns are marked in order from A to H, with A being A to H left to right. So the one rook is on the A row, on A column, and another rook is on the H column. And each space is defined as a combination of the letter of the column letter and the row number. So, like a rook is on A1 or H1, and that's essentially the basics of chess notation, and that is what I'll kind of be referring to intermittently. I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. I just went for a little walk around the boards to check out in a little closer detail the games that are going on. So on first board, Perez is at a little bit up on time, with a little under 55 minutes left on his clock, while Soon only has about 50 minutes, so like it's a 5-minute time difference, but you know, it can make all the difference, especially as the time wears down, you know, like as the clocks get closer to 0, like 5 minutes can really make all the difference. Yeah. And as you can see, Perez and Soon are kind of playing a little bit cautiously, like they're throwing their pawns forward and supplementing their pawns assault in advance with slightly higher pieces like knights and other pawns, which is a strategy, and it's a very good strategy. But as you can see, and it's a completely different strategy taken up by Spurka on second board. I don't know if any of you can see it that well, but he has a bishop down towards Nguyen's side of the board, and so he's just like threatening greater things. Spurka's been a very aggressive, well, not aggressive, but like a very offensive player. Like he's just going forward and really putting Nguyen on the defense there. And that is a strategy and that's another strategy that can be taken. Yeah, and as for third board, it's a bit further off, but it also seems relatively evenly matched. And even-handed. Like there's not too much offensive between Vasquez and Kim. Like it's just, I don't know. Which, I mean, there's drawbacks to it. There's good things about being aggressive and taking it to your opponent, and being cautious and waiting. And being aggressive, you can kind of psychologically manipulate your opponent and kind of scare them a little bit into either messing up or making a mistake. Yeah, and also, it gives you like a little edge, a little initiative, as we say, in the game, because now the other player has to focus on your aggressive pieces. But the downside of being aggressive is that you can overextend your pieces. You can overextend your strategy, and then with a little quick thinking and one slight mess up, you can you can find yourself in some hot water, either losing like maybe a queen, or maybe like a rook or another important piece, or maybe even losing the game. So it would seem then that a cautious approach is a good idea because but by thinking everything through and and so on and so forth. You know, like you're limiting your ability to make mistakes. But the downside about that is you don't always have the initiative. Like you don't have that edge. You don't really threaten your opponent that much because they're just like, oh, you've moved your knight out. Oh, okay. It's not really threatening me, but it has the potential to. Versus if you were to move your knight out into a very dangerous position and start threatening their king potentially. Like that gains initiative, that garners initiative, but it kind of loses a little bit of the cautiousness. So it's kind of a balance. Like you need to be cautious and think and plan moves out and really get into what your opponent might be thinking. But on the other, while also maintaining the initiative against your opponent. And that's about it for me. I mean, they might bring in a different commentator later on the match, but I have to go. I have other obligations. But it was nice to hang out with you all, ladies and gentlemen, on this fine Tuesday afternoon, December 19th, 2017. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and go Norristown, because Norristown's gonna win. Yes, that is a thing that will happen. I believe in it. Let's go.
So right now, first board is up by 2 pawns. However, his king safety is just a little questionable. However, black also lost his castling rights. The third match ended with Norristown losing to checkmate by Elaine Vasquez, who was defeated. Currently, all the boards are playing except for the third board. First board looks poised to win with a 2-pawn advantage.
And Jason takes Andrew or Alex Perez's queen.
In the first board, the queens were just taken off. Black normally doesn't want to do this because he's down material, and when you're down material, that's not recommended. However, he probably tried to do it this time to avoid tactics and tricks and make the game simpler.
I am your new commentator for the rest of the match. My name is Elaine. The previous commentator was my elder brother, who was a chess club alum, and I will be taking over from here. So, I don't know where he left off, but as we can see, Stuff is happening. By the way, yes, I am the third board, and yes, my match is over, which is why I'm here, able to commentate right now. So, first board, Perez for Norristown versus Sun for PW. Shut up. It looks like Perez, who's playing white, is very deep into black's territory. I just need to get a handle on what's going on. It looks like he's far up on material and on board space. Looks like a bit of a wrap. That knight in particular. Although I don't quite see where he can go from here. Second board, farther down. Neon versus Spurka. It's hard to see from here, but it looks to be a pretty even match. Fourth board, way in the back there. Lin versus Chan. Yeah, you can't see that. I don't even know why I brought it up. I'm sorry. Now that I have a better idea of each player's respective positions on the board, Perez first board has a veritable wall of pawns there. You see right down the middle, that diagonal line. His rook has a semi-open file all the way down, and that basically means that he can go as far as his opponent's pawn on the opposite side. You can't go all the way down and go for the check because, well, that pawn is in the way, which is why it's semi-open and not fully open. The only reason why he can't actually go take that pawn is because it's hard to see, but black's knight is there protecting it. And a pawn is very much not worth a rook. It is his move. And he is clearly thinking very hard about this. So, the object for Perez is naturally to checkmate the king. But there's a bit more to it than simply moving a piece here and there. He's got a very strong presence straight down the center of the board. Those pawns, naturally the knight, but also the bishop way back in the corner. The bishop is providing the foundation for all of that. Black can't take that center pawn because, one, there's nothing threatening it, but two, it's protected by the two pawns back into the sides. And he can't take the pawn at, where is that? Oh, Perez moved, pushed his rook all the way down the A file to A6. Trying to put pressure on that knight, as well as maintaining the pressure on that pawn. Nguyen moved as well. Looks like he brought his rook down. I'm not sure where, it's hard to see on this. I will be right back. So, it's a little bit hard to see, but diagonally to the left of Nguyen's rook is his opponent, Spurka's queen. And diagonally to the right is Spurka's other rook. Currently, Spurka is in a castled position, which means that his king is tucked away in the corner behind a rook and a line of 3 pawns. Generally a very safe position, but one must be careful of a back rank checkmate. Nguyen's aim is most likely to plow his rook and queen straight back into the very base of White's territory. Back rank checkmates are the easiest trap, well, one of the easiest traps for a player to get into. And the reason why Spurka didn't simply take Nguyen's rook with his queen, because Nguyen's rook is protected by his queen. A rook for a queen is not a fair trade, especially not in this, how shall I put this, delicate position. Back to Perez v. Sun. It appears that Perez and Sun have traded rooks. Currently it is Perez's turn. What will he do? Sun's knights are nicely playing off of each other in the center of the board. And because of Perez's pawn structure, it's hard for him to get to them. He'll most likely push the B pawn. The C pawn. He wants to get those knights out of that center region as fast as possible, because currently they are the active players, they are the active threats against him. Nguyen v. Spurka. Nguyen made his move and then ran off somewhere. Could be he went to get a drink of water, or simply to go stretch his legs. Either way, we'll see when he comes back. He's confident enough in his position and his time constraints to take that mini vacation, and it is not against the rules for a player to simply get up and leave the room. But he should hurry, because Spurka has made his move and the time on Nguyen's clock is running out. Perez v. Sun. Currently it is Sun's move, and he, has to move the knight or lose it. He gets his knight out of the way of danger, as well as threatens the pawn that was just moved. And from threatening, and should Sun take that pawn, he will then be open and invited to take the bishop as well. A tactic called windmilling. In fact, he most likely will take the pawn. Should he indeed do that, Perez will most likely recapture with his knight. And Sun will simply recapture again with his other knight. It's simple, but effective. It's a tactic called windmilling. Take one piece, and then you simply keep taking and taking and taking, dancing around the board like a windmill. I will be right back to report on the progress of Nguyen v. Sprka. Nguyen has both rooks and his queen lined up and ready to make that final assault on Sprka's back rank. Sprka, on the other hand, has both his rooks and his queen ready to defend the one spot all three of Nguyen's attackers will have to go to. Currently it is Sprka's move. The best move for him to do in this position would be, indeed, to push one of the three pawns forming the king's shield. That king needs a flight square, and then the back rank checkmate can't happen. But instead, he moves his rook one space over to the left, well, from Sprka's perspective. Nguyen moves his king. Yes. That, rooks and queens deadlock. You can't do much with that. So Nguyen is going to bring his king into the fray. Many chess players, particularly beginning chess players, oh, there goes Sprka, pushing the pawn, getting that flight square for his king. Many chess players, particularly beginners, underestimate the power of the king as an attacker. You see, just because if you lose your king, it's the end of the game, that doesn't mean that you can't use your king. The king is more than just a prize to be won. He is a tool, like all the other pieces on the board are tools to be used. Fighters v Sun. Looks like I was mistaken. No, wait. Well then. Nguyen v Spurka. Nguyen is maintaining that Queen Rook line up down the center of the board. Spurka cannot forget about the danger they pose. Even though he has a flight square, should the king get off the back rank, it's a dangerous position, especially with his pawns so underdeveloped. Nguyen, meanwhile, is solving the problem of unprotected king and pawns by marching his king down the flank of the board with his pawn entourage. The double purpose of with the double purpose of defending his pawns and using the pawns as a shield for the king. It appears that Lin V. Chan has wrapped up. The results have yet to be posted.
Norristown just lost. Most likely we're gonna lose this match.
As the hijacker Perez just said, yes. Lynn from Norristown on the 4th board just lost his match. Way back in the corner, you can see the back of PW's 5th board, Kowalski, facing off against Norristown's 5th board, Rafiq. Due to the obstruction and the distance, it is impossible to say from here who is winning. Perez v. Sun. Perez as well is bringing his knight up to compensate for the lost bishop. Rather, his king. Apologize for the slip of the tongue. Nguyen and Perez both fully understand the power of the king as an attacking force. Perez also has Sun's knight trapped away and trapped on the side of the board. It is essentially useless. It does nothing more than take up space. Knights are most effective in closed games where the bishops cannot use their long-ranged attacking power to the fullest. Specifically in those types of games, knights are most effective in the center of the board. Rather, they're only effective in the center of the board. Very rarely does a player come out winning after his knight is pushed to the fringe. Nguyen v. Sperka. Oh, nope. appears the cameraman is focusing more on Perez v. Sun. But in Nguyen v. Spurka, Nguyen has put Spurka in a very bad position. He gave up one of his rooks, but he has his queen and his rook and his remaining rook pressuring Spurka's king a lot. Nguyen has stripped Spurka's pawn structure on his castled king side. And as a result, as a result of the completely stripped, well, almost completely stripped king side on white, Nguyen has the opportunity to to check Spurka's king there. Now that the camera has zoomed in a little bit more, you can see a bit more clearly that Black's queen has Spurka's king in check. The rook there on the second to last rank is preventing Spurka's king from moving anywhere but into the corner. And from there it's a simple two-move checkmate. But Spurka has to either move his king or block the mate. Block the check, rather. And the only way Spurka can block that check is by moving his rook up. If he moves the rook up, the queen will take immediately and check. It's another mate in two, no matter what. Spurka is finished. Perez v. Sun. Sun's knight is still tucked away in the corner. Useless. Meanwhile, Perez's knight is strong and vibrant in the center of the board, defended by the pawns. However, Perez cannot move his pawns. He has to rely on other pieces, like his king or his rook, to get done what needs to be done. I believe next, Perez will push his rook down the A file to A7 and check. Rather, I was one off. Pushed his rook down to the C. Let me start over. I was wrong. Pushed his rook down to the sixth rank. providing a pin, not a pin. Blocking Spurka's king from going any further, as well as taking the job of defending that knight away from the pawn, so it's free to move up. Nguyen v Spurka. Spurka has made his move. He moves his king over to the corner. Nguyen counters with the queen's move over to the right, tricking him again. There are two things Spurka can do to get out of this. As said before, block or move. Blocking would, I believe, be the better choice in this situation. As in it lets the game go on one move longer. Perez v Sun. I'll be right back. Nguyen v Spurka has just finished. Nguyen v Spurka, I repeat, has just finished. Spurka resigned. He saw that there was no way out for him, so rather than allowing his opponent to have the satisfaction of pulling off the checkmate, Spurka decided to end it himself. That makes the current score 2-1 PW. Currently the two players, Nguyen and Spurka, are going over certain aspects of their game. Now we focus on Perez v Sun. By the way, I haven't completely forgotten about Rafik vs. Kowalski. It's just that, well, that game is a little bit too far away from the camera for me to commentate that. It seems like Rafik v. Kowalski is finished too with Rafik the victor. And that makes the score tied 2-2, anybody's game. It all comes down to board 1, Perez v. Sun. And currently Perez is in the winning position. As Tuesday afternoon becomes Tuesday evening, we go now to the final chess match of the day's game. Perez v. Sun, the first boards of both respective teams. Again, Perez is the first board for Norristown, the home team, and Sun, the first board for Plymouth Whitmarsh, also referred to as PW in this commentary rather. And they are the visiting team. Given that there is no real movement going on other than with the pawns, that is how these two opponents are playing the remainder of their match, with their pawns. There is no other option. Again, Perez has his pawns in a very ordered pattern. His king is there to provide support to the lagging pawn on the far side of the board from our perspective. He is up in material and position. There is little Sun can do to improve his position, so provided that Perez doesn't mess up, get overconfident, or otherwise make a mistake, the match should be his. Perez is trying to increase his odds as much as possible, taking piece after piece. is not rudimentary endgame theory, because it's not. Truly, it isn't. But neither is it overly complex. Perez, at this point, is essentially toying with Sun. It's a technique he likes to use often. Get as many of his pawns to the end of the board as possible. Get as many queens as possible. Watch his opponent squirm. Never let it be said that Alexis Perez, first board of Norristown, is a kind person. Rather, let me rephrase that. Never let it be said that he is not a cruel person. The object now for Perez is to get his pawns promoted as soon as possible. Don't mind the thump. That was just me catching the wire with my foot and tugging the mic off the table. Sun has limited opportunities here. Yes, the very least that he can do is prevent his opponent from promoting. Given that he's so far behind in material, it is highly unlikely that he will succeed. Perez has his rook protecting the pawn closest to us. almost certainly he will continue to use his pawns and king in tandem with support from the rook to pull off the promotion and a checkmate. And it appears that Sun is willing to play this out to the end. The only real move that Sun could make. If Sun fails to make the right move here, the next move will be checkmate. Excellent. Now there's nothing for Perez to do. But push his other pawn. The third one, the one farthest back. I stand corrected. He pushed his rook. It appears he's satisfied enough with this position, and he wants to see just how much black can do with his limited options. Threatening to take Perez's pawn and put his king in check. Perez does not want that to happen. There it is. Now he pushed the pawn. If this goes on much longer, it might actually be a stalemate. I take that back. son and Perez's patience seems indefinite. Or perhaps not. Perez seems to grow tired of this little game. This back and forth between pawn and rook and king and rook and pawn. So he offers a trade. That son accepts. Positions himself directly in front of Perez's foremost pawn. A smart move. This way, Perez cannot continue to push his secondmost pawn, because that would leave his foremost pawn undefended. And there, the king-pawn wedge. You'll push, yep, that pawn. Again, the object is to promote. In this situation, though, I'm not sure whether he would choose a queen, or a knight. Probably a queen, but the knight has merit as well. Son is running, trying to put as much distance from that soon-to-be promoted pawn as possible. It looks like they are on their second sheet. That's how long this game has been going on. Perez promotes to a queen, puts his opponent in check. Watch as he pushes the remainder of his pawns, promotes them. Is he actually being serious this time? Le gasp. From here, it's a simple matter of performing a king-queen checkmate. Or he'll promote again. Perez now has two queens, a pawn, and a king, all corralling. All corralling the black king. game is done, by the way. There's no way Sun can possibly win unless it's on time. This is Perez toying with Sun in his death throes. I've seen it before, many a time. There he goes. Aiming to promote his final pawn to a queen. Yes, you can do that. You can have as many promoted pawns on the board as you want. I don't think so. There is the Norristown coach providing a third queen to Perez. Sun is done. It is 5:15 on Tuesday, December 19th, rather, and the sun has officially set. I'm sorry, but I had to. And that, I believe, is me. The score ends 3-2 Norristown.